Arizona Science is supported by Research Corporation for Science Advancement.
For AZPM, I'm Leslie Tolbert, Regents Professor Emerita in Neuroscience at the University of Arizona, and this is Arizona Science. Our guest today is John Wiens, Professor of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology at the U of A. John has broad interests in evolutionary biology with a special focus on the evolution and ecology of reptiles and amphibians. Welcome, John.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Tell us about your academic background first. How did you come to study biodiversity and the factors that drive diversity?
Well, I kind of started off as a herpetologist. So as a little kid, I really liked reptiles and amphibians. And then so I sort of do science to be able to play around with them to a certain extent. So I did my PhD on these spiny lizards that I still work on today.
So tell us more about your work right here in Arizona with Arizona Sky Island lizards. What are you finding?
Yeah, so we've worked on this species, the Yarrow spiny lizard, for several years now. And it's really easy to see, or at least used to be really easy to see in places like Madeira Canyon and Chiricahua National Monument. And so I started to survey them starting in 2013 and most intensively in 2014 and 2015. And then working with a grad student, Kim Holtzman, we did resurveys in 2021 and 2022. And we actually found really dramatic changes between those two time periods.
And what were those changes?
Lots and lots of local extinction. And it varies from mountain range to mountain range, but in some mountain ranges, the rates of local extinction are among the fastest that have ever been recorded.
And is that because the climate is the warmest that's ever been recorded?
It seems to be. So we can do a statistical analysis and we find a significant relationship between the level of warming in different locations and whether they're going locally extinct or not.
Can you find species that you virtually know will survive because they are already in some way tuned to the changed climate that we now predict?
That is a great question. And my answer would be it's not clear yet. I would have guessed, for example, that the lizards in the hottest places in the Southwest or the hottest places in the world would have been serious trouble just because presumably they wouldn't be adapted for hotter temperatures than they were already experiencing. But the preliminary work that we've done suggests that they're fine. They all seem to be fine. Desert iguanas, chuckwallas, all of these things. Whereas are these ones in the Sky Islands that are in these much cooler pine and oak forests that seem to be having a lot of problems.
So that sort of suggests that we're going to end up with a situation where the ones that aren't having problems now dominate, and we lose the Sky Island species in particular. Is that what you're saying?
It might be, or some kind of mixture like that. Yeah. At this point, it's still difficult to predict what's going to happen.
So tell us what you do in the genomic domain. What is it that you do with your lizards?
We're doing these surveys in 2014 and 2015. We took little tiny tail clips, and the tip of the tail will grow back. And we sampled their genomes using a method called RADseq. So we sample a little bit of the genome, but it still ends up being lots of data. And so the interesting thing is that a lot of those populations that we surveyed in 2014 and 2015 are now extinct. We learned in 2021 and 2022. So the interesting thing we were able to do that has never been done before is we're able to look at the genetic traits of the ones that died and the ones that survived. And definitely that genomic data is really useful for predicting who lives and who dies. And basically, it's those populations that have the most genetic variation are the ones that are able to survive.
So you've learned that already with data from a few years ago, and now it seems to be sort of a keystone for what you're doing today. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. And we didn't back then. We had no idea back then that some of these populations were going to go extinct. There's basically these 18 Sky Islands where they live on, and some of them are as old as different species. So the one that we focused on a lot is in the Mule Mountains near Bisbee, and that one is likely to go extinct in the next few years. And that one's 3 million years old. It's older than humans.
Thank you very much for talking with us. These examples of the impacts of climate change are so important for us to know about. Dr. John Wiens is an expert in the intimate relationship between climate change and changes in the animal species around us, here and across the globe. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me on.
You can listen to this and all Arizona Science conversations at azpm.org/Arizona Science. I'm Leslie Tolbert.
Thank you to Research Corporation for Science Advancement for their support of Arizona Science.